Then Jesus told his disciples, "If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me." We're going to look at how that verse, in my opinion, has been misunderstood for a long time. Does what Jesus say there get in the way of our freedom? Does it reduce it, or does it induce it? Knowing that God loves you unconditionally so that you're not nearly as concerned about what everybody else thinks empowers you and gives you the freedom to express yourself, to really show who you are. And as I was sitting there and I thought, yeah, but isn't expressing yourself part of the problem today? I mean, there are all sorts of people expressing themselves in ways that are destructive. So shouldn't we be championing self-restraint rather than self-expression? I mean, isn't that what we should be championing? I mean, that's a legit question. I mean, you don't have to look far in our culture or even in our own hearts to see that freedom of expression can quickly go off the rails and become destructive. We justify all sorts of things in this world, all sorts of selfishness in our lives by saying, I'm just expressing myself. I'm just being me. In fact, there may be no greater social faux pas in our current cultural climate than the denial of self-expression, okay? So I understand the objection. I get it. But there is a difference between expressing yourself to get approval and expressing yourself because you know you're already approved. Huge difference between those two things. A lot of so-called self-expression we see these days is people expressing themselves because they want acceptance in a particular tribe or by a particular group of people. They determine their moves and their look and their likes and their words, all in order to fit in, to find acceptance. That's what's driving their self-expression. They quickly discern what's allowed and what's not allowed, what's liked and what's not liked, and then they make their decisions accordingly. So what might appear at first to be self-expression is just a desperate attempt to find love and acceptance and approval. But that's not who they really are. Many of those same people don't feel the freedom to express their fears or their insecurities or their struggles or their secrets. Consciously or unconsciously, their expression is calculated, all in an attempt to find approval. So they're not, in their attempts to get approval by expressing themselves, they're not really expressing themselves. They're not really showing you who they really are. They're showing you who they want you to believe they are so that you'll love them, so that you'll accept them. And we're all guilty of this to some degree. But the truest form of self-expression is when you feel the freedom to be who you actually are, the good, the bad, and the ugly, because you know you're already approved. When you live your life from approval and not for it, that's when the real you comes out, the one that God made, the one that God loves, the one who is unafraid to be exactly who you are, the one who dares to put the real you out there. So there's a huge difference between living your life or expressing yourself in order to get acceptance and expressing yourself because you know you're already accepted. When you express who you are, when you tell the truth about yourself, when you put yourself out there because you know you're already accepted by the only one that matters, namely God, the real you comes out. The deepest freedom happens when the affirmation you look for from others is replaced by the affirmation you already have from God. That's what makes you bold, courageous. That's what gives you the freedom to truly express yourself. Because we have God's approval, we have nothing to prove or protect. You don't need everyone to love you or understand you or be just like you. You can endure being misunderstood and rejected by others because you'll never be misunderstood and rejected by God. See, real slavery is living your life trying to gain favor, which is a life driven by fear. But real freedom is living your life knowing you already have favor, which is a life driven by faith. See, fear and slavery go hand in hand. Where there is one, there will always be the other. But on the flip side of that, faith and freedom always go hand in hand. Where you find one, you always find the other. In fact, faith fuels freedom, fuels it. Faith in the truth that you are loved no matter what, that you are in a relationship with an unlosable lover who really likes all of you. Well, that relaxes you to be yourself when you know that to be true.